You don't need more motivation. You need to stop bullshitting yourself. Let's be honest, how many times have you said, "This Monday I'll start," and by Wednesday, you're deep in Netflix, scrolling TikTok like it's a full-time job? Your goal list is a graveyard of good intentions, buried under broken promises and half-finished journals. Sound familiar? Here's the truth nobody wants to tell you. Your life isn't shaped by the big things you do once in a while. It's built, brick by brick, by the dumb, small, boring as hell stuff you do every single day when no one's watching. You think success is about one big moment? Wrong. Success is when you brush your damn teeth every night even though you're tired. Success is when you choose the gym instead of TikTok, again. So let's stop talking about goals like they're magic spells. You don't need a better dream. You need better systems. And this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, it will slap your excuses in the face. Let's go. Today, we're talking about a book that quietly wrecks every excuse you've got about why your life isn't where you want it to be. It's called Atomic Habits, and it's written by James Clear, an author who didn't just study habits from a cozy armchair with a latte. No, this man got smashed in the face with a baseball bat in high school, was put into a coma, had to learn how to live again, and still came back to become a top athlete, best-selling author, and behavior science authority. You think you're having a tough week? Try waking up with your eyeball literally popped out of its socket. James Clear isn't some motivational guru yelling empty mantras. He built this book on neuroscience, behavioral psychology, and painful real-life trial and error. And now, he's delivering what you need. A system for actual real change. Not motivational fluff, not just try harder, and definitely not vision boards. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. James Clear. Disclaimer. This video falls under the Fair Use Act and is for educational and transformative commentary purposes only. We're not just summarizing. We're calling you out, challenging the way you think, and giving these ideas new context. If you want the full deep dive, which you should, go buy the book. Support the author. Stop being a cheap intellectual thief. What James Clear teaches in Atomic Habits isn't about how to win the lottery of life. It's about how to rig the damn game in your favor. This book isn't about goals. It's about systems, identity, environment, the real stuff that determines whether you'll finally stop being a starter and become someone who finishes. So buckle up, because this isn't some feel-good TED Talk. This is war against your laziness, your excuses, and every lie you tell yourself. Welcome to Mindful Reads Hub. Let's get started. Tiny changes, massive shifts. You think your life is one big Netflix-worthy redemption arc, just waiting for your big break? You're waiting for the miracle job, the dream relationship, the sudden six-pack? Please, wake up. You're not a superhero in a training montage. You're a creature of habit, chained to your routines, and not in the badass Bruce Wayne disciplined way. No, in the hit snooze 6 times, scroll Instagram until your dopamine burns out, and tell yourself you'll start fresh Monday way. Let's cut the fluff. Your results aren't based on what you hope to do. They're based on what you do every single day, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Your life is just a lagging indicator of your systems. You're not unlucky, you're just consistent at the wrong things. You want to be successful, you want to be elite, then stop looking for that one massive change that will catapult you into greatness. That's not how this works. James Clear, who literally had to relearn how to walk and breathe after a baseball shattered his skull, knows a thing or two about progress. He didn't wake up one day as an author, athlete, or entrepreneur. He built those identities, one microscopic, boring ass, invisible action at a time. He's not preaching motivation. Motivation is a scam. He's giving you a system, a way to beat the slow death of mediocrity, a rebellion against the "I'll start tomorrow" cult. Imagine this. You improve just 1% every day. That's it. 1%, not 100%. Not new year, new me, just 1%. Sounds pathetic, right? Wrong, because that 1% compounds. Over a year, you're 37 times better than where you started. But if you get 1% worse every day, you don't just suck, you evaporate. You become the ghost of who you could have been. Here's where most people screw up. They focus on the outcome, the goal. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to earn 100k. I want a six-pack and a Tesla. But goals are trash. Everyone has goals. Winners and losers literally have the same goals. The difference? The system. That boring, invisible, no one's watching routine that compounds quietly until it explodes loudly. You're trying to bench press 300 pounds when you can't even stop eating Oreos at midnight. You're aiming for the Olympics when you can't even show up to a 7 a.m. workout. You don't need ambition. You need alignment. You need to build systems that don't rely on willpower, because guess what? Willpower is a finite battery. And if you're draining it every morning, deciding whether to get out of bed or not, you're already losing. You say you want to write a book, but you haven't written a single damn paragraph in months. You say you want to be financially free, but your idea of investing is putting $5 in Dogecoin and manifesting a Lambo. You're not committed. You're cosplaying success. Atomic Habits smashes through this with surgical clarity. Success is the result of your habits, not your hustle. And if you're not getting the results you want, you don't need more goals. You need better habits. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to your systems. You don't get in shape by doing CrossFit once and posting about it. You get in shape by eating chicken and broccoli when nobody cares, drinking water when you'd rather have soda, and showing up when it's boring. Over and over, until the new version of you isn't a dream, it's default. This isn't a hype book. It's a blueprint, a cold, calculated, scientifically backed punch to your excuses, because behind every success story is a graveyard of boring, repetitive decisions. You want change? Then change the damn system. Forget the motivational posters. Forget the vision boards. If you can't master the 1% daily shift, you don't deserve the 100% result. This is the war of tiny wins, and if you're not fighting it, you're losing it. Key takeaway: success doesn't come from huge dramatic efforts. It comes from tiny invisible shifts that compound relentlessly over time. You don't need more motivation. You need a system that makes success inevitable and failure hard to sustain. Favorite quote: you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Build identity, not just habits. You don't need a new morning routine. You need a new identity. Let's stop pretending your life is going to change because you bought a planner and downloaded a habit tracker. You can drink green smoothies, meditate for 10 minutes, and stretch like a TikTok yogi. If you still believe you're lazy, undisciplined, or just not a morning person, guess what? That identity is your cage, and your habits are just surface level graffiti on the prison wall. Here's the deal. Every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you believe you are. And most people, they're voting against themselves. Every skipped workout, every snoozed alarm, every half-finished project. They're not just bad habits. They're confirmations of a crappy self-image you haven't bothered to rewrite. You keep trying to build habits on top of a rotten foundation, and you're shocked when the house collapses. Let's be real. You don't actually want to go to the gym every day. You want to be someone who doesn't skip the gym. There's a difference. One is a behavior, the other is identity. One fades when you're tired, the other fights when you're weak. Most people attack change from the outside in. I want results, so I'll start doing new things. But change doesn't start with action, it starts with ownership. It starts when you stop saying, I'm trying to quit smoking, and start saying, I'm not a smoker. Subtle? Maybe. But it's the difference between hoping to become someone and being someone. The truth is, every habit you build is less about the outcome and more about who you're becoming. The goal isn't to read a book, it's to become a reader. It's not to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. Because once that identity is locked in, the behavior becomes automatic. That's the game. And let me hit you with this. If you're struggling to build a habit, the real issue is probably deeper. You haven't updated your self-image. You're still clinging to the version of you that fails, the version who always starts and never finishes, the version who says they want change but believes they can't keep it. So how do you fix this? You stop worshipping goals and start obsessing over systems. Systems are the flywheel of change. They're the repeatable process that pulls identity forward, like gravity. Goals are momentary. Systems are forever. A goal might win you the battle. A system wins the war. Take health. Your goal is to lose 20 pounds. Fine. So you start running, stop eating junk, maybe even sleep a little better. But what happens when the goal is achieved? You celebrate and then fall right back into old routines because the weight loss wasn't who you are, it was just something you did. Temporary, cosmetic, surface level. The change didn't stick because your system didn't evolve and your identity didn't shift. You were still the same person, just slightly thinner for a moment. Want the truth? High achievers don't set higher goals. They have higher standards. They build environments, routines, and feedback loops that support the identity they want. They design a life that automatically pushes them toward who they need to be. They don't rely on motivation. They design default excellence. Here's what makes most people fail. They chase outcomes, hate the process, and never become the kind of person that can sustain the result. So if you're not willing to rewrite your identity, don't bother starting, because your habits will always crawl back to match your self-image. Forget the BS narrative of overnight transformation. Change doesn't happen because you flipped a switch. It happens when you start stringing together thousands of tiny actions that align with a new version of you. It's a vote every day, for the gym rat instead of the couch zombie, for the focused writer instead of the Netflix junkie, for the adult who gets their life together instead of the child who makes excuses. And guess what? You don't need 100% compliance, you just need enough votes to tip the balance. Perfection is a trap. Identity isn't built by flawless effort, it's built by consistency that overpowers your past. You already have an identity. Question is, was it built on purpose or by accident? If your self-image was shaped by failure, shame, and past patterns, it's time to rebuild. You don't need better habits, you need to become someone worth having them. Key takeaway, if your identity stays the same, your habits will never stick. You don't become successful by chasing goals, you do it by becoming the kind of person who doesn't stop. Change doesn't begin with what you do, it begins with who you believe you are. Favorite quote, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Rewire your world. You think motivation will save you? Guess again. Motivation is a toddler throwing a tantrum, loud, unpredictable, and gone the minute you turn your back. That's why the world's top performers don't beg themselves to care more. They engineer their environment so the right choice is automatic. They're not superheroes, they're strategists. Stop treating your willpower like an infinite resource. It isn't. Every decision you make bleeds a little more self-control until you snap, dive into junk food, skip the gym, or binge TikTok. That's called decision fatigue, and it's the silent killer of every "I'll start tomorrow" promise. The antidote? Design your world so the battles are already won before they begin. Remember the office with the candy jar on your coworker's desk? Surprise! A study found people ate no fewer than 1,700 calories from it each week. That jar didn't just hold candy, it held a trap. Move that jar 2 feet away and consumption drops dramatically. That's choice architecture in action, tiny tweaks in your surroundings that yield massive results. Want to read more? Put a book by your bed, not your phone. Want to save money? Set your bank to auto-transfer. Want to eat healthier? Chop the veggies and leave them in clear containers up front and bury the ice cream at the back of the freezer. The less friction between you and the habit, the higher the chance you do it without even thinking. Here's where most people choke. They believe success is about inner strength, so they load up on motivational quotes and hyped playlists. But when the alarm goes off at 5 a.m. and your brain whispers, "Just 5 more minutes," that inner strength is toast. Instead, harness the power of external nudges. Alter your context. Ritualize your wins. Take 2 runners training for a marathon. One posts her shoes by the door every night, the other keeps them in the closet. Guess who laps the training circuit? The first doesn't decide to run, she just steps into her shoes and goes. The second has to summon willpower, debate in his head, and often chooses the couch. Environment wins 100 times out of 100, but don't fall for the myth that you need a perfect environment, like a monk's cell. Transformation happens in real life. in your tiny apartment, around noisy roommates, or in your cramped office. You just need to identify the cues that trigger bad habits and swap them for cues that launch good ones. If you always snack at your desk, eat at the kitchen table. If you doom scroll on your phone before bed, put it on airplane mode across the room. This isn't about willpower or motivation. It's about autopilot. Your brain is a lazy machine. It will default to the path of least resistance. So either it defaults to destruction, Netflix, junk food, procrastination, or you build a highway to your dreamed of life and let your autopilot take you there. When you stop relying on motivation, you stop feeling guilty for the days you don't feel like it. There is no feeling, it's process. You change your defaults, and soon enough, the good action becomes the easy action. You want that to happen more than you want to gripe about lacking discipline. Actionable truth. Redesign your spaces. Make what you want visible, what you don't invisible. And if you still think this is too simple, remember, every world-class athlete, artist, and CEO does this, every single one. They engineer contexts that favor them. They don't hope for discipline, they manufacture it. And now, so can you. Key takeaway, motivation is, environment is constant. Redesign your surroundings so that good choices are the default and bad ones require effort. Stop fighting inner battles. Win the war by changing the battlefield. Favorite quote, every behavior is initiated by a cue. Gradually, your environment will direct your attention toward the cues that matter and away from those that don't. Start before you're ready. Let's get something straight. If you're waiting to feel ready, you're gonna rot in place. You think readiness is coming? It's not. You think motivation will kick in tomorrow? It won't. You're not lazy. You're lying to yourself about what's really holding you back. And here's the truth most people can't stomach. The first step doesn't need to be impressive. It just needs to exist. That's the dirty little secret about momentum. It doesn't come from planning. It doesn't come from watching productivity hacks on YouTube at 2 a.m. It comes from starting ugly, starting unprepared, starting when you're insecure, unsure, and probably gonna suck, because you will suck. But sucking with forward motion beats being a perfectionist in paralysis. James Clear gets it. He doesn't teach you how to build motivation. He teaches you how to bypass it. And the weapon he hands you? The 2-minute rule. No, not the answer emails in 2 minutes kind of productivity. This is about redefining the habit so small, so frictionless, so insultingly simple that your brain has no room to make excuses. Don't aim to run 5 miles, just put on your shoes. Don't aim to read a chapter, just open the damn book. Don't commit to a full workout. Just do 5 push-ups, because if you can show up for 2 minutes, you'll probably stay for more. The biggest lie your mind tells you is that you need to be in the mood. Mood doesn't matter, motion does. You think top performers have some magical switch that makes them feel like grinding every day? No, they just got good at starting. They stripped their habits down to the lowest barrier to entry and built trust with themselves, because the habit isn't the goal, the habit is the gateway. You're not trying to become a reader by finishing War and Peace. You're trying to prove you can pick up a book every day, no matter what. You want to stop procrastinating? Then stop fantasizing about being productive and start doing something too small to fail. Overcome inertia, not with intensity, but with permission. Permission to suck. Permission to start small. Permission to build consistency instead of perfection. Let me guess. You've had start that project on your to-do list for 2 weeks. You keep pushing it back because the mountain looks massive. But what if the only thing on the list was open your laptop, open a blank doc, write 1 sentence? That's how real pros get started. You build momentum by tricking your brain into action. Tiny steps, zero resistance. Not because the step is impressive, but because it cracks the seal of inaction. And here's the painful truth. Every time you avoid starting, you reinforce the identity of someone who avoids discomfort. You think procrastination is about laziness. It's not. It's about fear. Fear of being judged. Fear of sucking. Fear of trying and still not being good enough. So instead, you stay still. You numb out. You delay. But guess what? Action kills fear. Starting kills resistance. And those 2 minutes, They're your Trojan horse. Once you're in the gate, the rest follows. So stop worshipping the grind and start respecting the nudge. Don't focus on how far you have to go. Focus on how easy it is to begin. When the starting line is too big, shrink it. If the full task is too much, cut it in half, then again, until it's laughable. Because once you're moving, you've already won. Movement creates motivation, not the other way around. Want to write every day? Start with 2 minutes. Want to build a fitness habit? Stretch for 30 seconds. You're not building a routine, you're building an identity. One small, undeniable, unskippable rep at a time. Key takeaway: don't wait for motivation. Design habits so easy they're impossible to avoid. Small actions, done consistently, create momentum, and momentum destroys resistance. Start before you're ready. Start especially when you're not. Favorite quote: when you start a new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. The point is not to do the thing, the point is to master the art of showing up. Control is an illusion, design wins. Let's talk about your willpower. The same thing you keep blaming every time you fall face first into a bag of chips or scroll 4 hours on Instagram after promising yourself you'd just check one notification. You don't have a willpower problem. You have a design problem. You're trying to fight a war with plastic weapons in a battlefield you built to lose. You've been sold a lie. That success is all about self-control. That discipline is some mystical force reserved for CEOs and monks. That if you just had a little more grit, you'd be fit, rich, and zen as hell. That's not just wrong. It's dangerous, because it keeps you locked in shame when the real solution has nothing to do with resisting harder and everything to do with removing the triggers that keep pulling you under. James Clear rips the band-aid off. He makes it crystal clear. The environment always wins. Always. You think you failed because you weren't strong enough? No, you failed because you were in a setup designed to make failure the default. Your snacks are visible, your phone is always within arm's reach, your email notifications are lighting up like fireworks during deep work. You're not undisciplined, you're outmatched by your environment. It's not about powering through temptation, it's about not seeing temptation in the first place. If junk food's not in the house, you won't eat it at midnight. If your phone is in another room, you won't lose 3 hours watching stupid pranks and fake productivity gurus. If your work setup is clean, minimal, and friction-free, you'll actually do the thing instead of convincing yourself you need a third YouTube video to get started. You don't need more control. You need to become the kind of person who doesn't need control. Think about that. Real mastery is designing your life so good behavior is the path of least resistance, and bad behavior is basically impossible without serious effort. It's not willpower, it's strategic laziness. You rig the game so even your lazy self wins. And here's the part nobody wants to admit. Your bad habits are not random. They're not accidents, they're patterns, they're systems, just like good habits, except they work against you. And until you stop blaming yourself and start reverse engineering them, you're doomed to repeat the same mistakes. You overeat? What time of day? What triggers it? Stress, boredom, social media. You can't break a habit until you understand it. That means analyzing the cue, craving, response, and reward that fuels it. Yes, it's a loop. No, it's not unique to you. Your brain is running code, autopilot behaviors, and if you don't debug that code, you're going to crash again, and again, and again. The real flex isn't resisting donuts, it's making sure you're never in a room where donuts are calling your name. It's not pushing through Instagram cravings, it's nuking the app off your home screen and replacing it with Kindle. It's not obsessing over how to stop watching Netflix, it's designing your 8 p.m. to be so packed with meaningful stuff that Netflix isn't even an option. Control is an illusion. Your systems either support you or destroy you. Most of us build systems by accident, ones that reward distraction, overindulgence, and comfort. And then we wonder why our lives look like a highlight reel of wasted potential. But once you flip that, once you start designing systems on purpose, the change is insane. You don't feel like you're trying. You don't feel like you're hustling. You just live differently. This isn't about guilt or shame. This is about precision, behavioral architecture. If you want to quit your worst habit, don't rely on willpower. Create friction, make the behavior harder, delay it, disrupt it. If you want to build a better habit, reduce friction, make it easy, make it obvious. Set yourself up like the future version of you matters. And if you're still stuck thinking you're weak because you keep screwing up, hear this. The strongest people in the world aren't those who resist temptation. They're the ones who never put themselves in its path. Strength is a system, not a mood. You want to change your life? Then stop fighting your urges. Start removing their fuel source. Key takeaway. Success isn't about how much willpower you have. It's about how few temptations you face. Don't fight your bad habits. Design them out. Make the good habits frictionless and the bad ones nearly impossible. Favorite quote, you don't have to be the victim of your environment. You can also be the architect of it. Make it addictive in a good way. Let's talk about why you binge Netflix, scroll TikTok for hours, check your phone 97 times a day, and yet can't stick to drinking water, writing one paragraph, or doing 10 push-ups. It's not because you're weak, it's because your brain is an addict. Addicted to dopamine, to validation, to immediacy. You've been trained to chase anything that feels good right now and to ignore everything that requires effort for future gain. You crave the hit, not the habit. And here's the punch in the teeth most people don't want to hear. Your brain doesn't care if something is good for you. It cares if it feels good, period. That's why you keep defaulting to trash behaviors that sabotage your long-term goals. Because they're easy, obvious, and instantly rewarding. Meanwhile, the good habits, they're buried under layers of boredom, delay, and lack of feedback. So your job isn't just to discipline yourself harder, it's to rewire the reward system. James Clear doesn't waste time telling you to grind harder. He teaches you how to hack your habit loop by doing what every addictive product already does. Make it attractive. When a habit is paired with something pleasurable, the brain tags it as worth doing again. So if going for a walk is tied to your favorite podcast, or studying is linked to your best coffee, or journaling ends with chocolate, you're not just doing the task, you're creating an irresistible association. That's how you go from I should to I want to, because once the brain links pleasure to a habit, it becomes automatic. That's how Instagram turned a scroll into a dopamine casino. That's how McDonald's made a jingle and a red box mean joy. That's how habits stick, not because they're virtuous, but because they feel good. If you want to win, stop trying to overpower your biology and start partnering with it. But here's the deeper layer. It's not just internal, it's social. Your behavior is contagious. You become what your people reward. If your tribe celebrates grind, you'll hustle. If they reward quitting, you'll retreat. If your friends normalize skipping the gym, eating garbage, and laughing at self-help, you'll self-sabotage to fit in. Human beings are pack animals, and that pack will either elevate you or bury you. So let's make this real. If you want to quit vaping, don't just remove the vape. Remove the people who keep offering it. If you want to build a writing habit, surround yourself with writers who ship daily. You don't need more discipline. You need a room where doing the hard thing is normal, because nothing fuels consistency like identity-driven community. When your actions match your people, they become who you are. That's why changing your environment includes your relationships. The gym isn't hard when your friends are already there. Eating clean isn't hard when your circle sends you recipes. Reading books isn't hard when you've got a group chat lighting up about the same chapter. Don't underestimate the gravitational pull of your circle. If you're not winning, it's probably because you're surrounded by people who celebrate comfort, not growth. And before you start whining about not having the right people, guess what? You don't find the tribe first. You earn it, you build a habit, you do the work, you show up, and as your behavior changes, your identity changes. And that identity, it becomes magnetic. You'll attract the kind of people who reinforce it. But first, you become it. Alone, if you have to. It's not magic, it's alignment. You align pleasure with progress. You align social energy with self-discipline. And suddenly, the habit you used to fight for becomes the default you don't even think about. That's how you make good habits addictive, not with shame or willpower, but with reward and belonging. So stop white-knuckling your way to improvement. Stop making your habits feel good. make them social, make them satisfying. Trick your brain into loving the work, because once the brain likes it, you'll do it without even asking. Key takeaway: good habits don't stick because they're good. They stick because they're enjoyable. If you want your habits to become automatic, pair them with pleasure and surround yourself with people who reinforce who you're becoming. Favorite quote: we imitate the habits of three groups in particular: the close, the many, and the powerful. Let it be easy. You keep telling yourself you need more motivation, that your problem is laziness, that if you just hustled a little harder, got up a little earlier, pushed through a little longer, you'd finally hit your stride. Stop. Right there. Because the hard truth is this: the reason you're failing isn't because you're too soft. It's because you've made your life unnecessarily hard. You're addicted to struggle like it's a badge of honor. You romanticize suffering like it earns you moral points. But let me hit you with a truth you don't want to hear. Difficulty doesn't build consistency. Ease does. Most people think habits stick because of discipline. They don't. They stick because they're frictionless. You're not building habits because you're lazy. You're not building them because you've engineered them to suck. Your new gym habit? It's 20 minutes across town during rush hour, and you haven't even picked out a playlist. Your writing habit? It starts with opening 14 tabs and wondering if your desk lamp gives off the right vibe, and you wonder why it never happens. James Clear doesn't play that game. He drops the hammer. Human behavior follows the path of least resistance. Always has, always will. And the people who win? They don't try harder. They remove the resistance. They don't waste energy starting their habits because the start has been systemized. They've simplified it down to the point where doing it is easier than skipping it. Let's get practical. If you want to read more, leave your damn book on your pillow. If you want to drink more water, keep a bottle in arm's reach. If you want to stop checking social media, log out, delete the app, and throw a password wall on it. You don't need more grit, you need fewer steps. And here's the part where most of you flinch. If your success depends on willpower, you've already lost. Because willpower is like a battery, it drains. But design doesn't care about your mood. It doesn't need motivation. It runs silently in the background, executing habits like clockwork. That's why brushing your teeth doesn't feel hard. It's why you don't forget your keys. It's not because you're a disciplined ninja. It's because the friction is so low, it barely feels like effort. But let's level it up. This isn't just about making it easier, it's about making it automatic. And that means reducing every habit down to its smallest, dumbest, laziest version. Wanna work out? Put on your shoes. That's the habit. Wanna write? Open your notes app. That's the habit. The moment it feels effortless, you'll do it. And once you're in motion, the rest follows naturally. And no, this isn't some productivity hack BS. This is psychology. This is architecture. This is reality. If you're trying to grind your way into consistency, you're running uphill in the rain barefoot. Good luck with that. Or, hear me out, you could pave the road instead. People think ease is weakness. That if something's easy, it can't be serious. That success is about pain and pushing and going to war with yourself. But that's ego talking. That's hustle culture brainwashing you into burnout. You don't get points for suffering. You get results from systems. You want to be consistent. Then stop making your habits miserable. Design them so you can do them on your worst day. Build them so tiny, so frictionless, that skipping them feels more annoying than doing them. That's how real change sticks. Not with inspiration, but with infrastructure. And here's the mic drop. It's not about doing more. It's about making the right thing easier to do than the wrong thing. That's the game. That's how you win without killing yourself trying. Key takeaway: friction kills habits. Make your good habits so easy you can't say no, and your bad ones so hard you can't be bothered. Favorite quote: human behavior follows the law of least effort. We naturally gravitate toward the option that requires the least amount of work. Results love repetition. You think greatness is about one big moment? One TED-worthy viral explosion of genius? No, that's the highlight reel fantasy you've been spoon-fed by people who want your attention, not your transformation. You know what actually builds greatness? Boring, brutal, relentless repetition. That's it. The people you idolize don't have magic. They have systems. They don't do it once. They do it daily, even when it's ugly. This is the painful truth your ego hates. You're not consistent because you're still chasing the high of being impressive. You want your habits to feel noble, cinematic, like something worth posting. But progress doesn't care about your aesthetic. It cares that you showed up again and again, especially when no one's watching, especially when you're tired, uninspired, and the dopamine's long gone. That's where champions are made, in the daily grind, not the glamorous moments. James Clear makes it crystal. You don't need motivation, you need a commitment to the process. Habits stick when they're not a negotiation. You don't wake up and decide whether to brush your teeth, do you? That's not discipline, that's automation. That's what your other habits need to become. Automatic, non-negotiable, unquestioned. And let's be real, most of you overcomplicate everything. You track calories with 4 apps, follow 6 productivity hacks, set goals with color-coded systems, then burn out by Thursday. You don't need a planner, you need to show the hell up, again and again, without needing it to feel good. The pros? They make it boring on purpose. Steph Curry shoots 500 shots before most people eat breakfast. Jocko Willink wakes up at 4:30 a.m. and doesn't post about it for likes. He posts to remind you that consistency doesn't care about your feelings. There is no magic day when it becomes easy, but there is a magic moment when it becomes routine, and that moment comes the 37th time you show up when no one expected you to. Clear calls this the magic of habit tracking and reinforcement. It's not about the streak, it's about the identity. Every rep you do is a vote for the person you're becoming. So if you want to stop being the kind of person who tries to be fit, or focused, or productive, start being the kind of person who does it daily, no matter how ugly or imperfect it looks. Let's talk strategy. You want to lock in a habit, make it visible, track it. Don't just hope it sticks, measure it. Make a calendar. Use a wall of X's. Build a streak so long that breaking it would feel like burning down your own progress. And when you do break it, because you're human, bounce back immediately. Missing once is an error. Missing twice is a new habit forming. Here's the punch in the gut most people dodge. You are always practicing something. Either you're practicing consistency or you're practicing excuses. Either you're showing up or you're reinforcing your own unreliability. That's the uncomfortable part, but it's also the empowering part, because you get to choose which one you become every single day. The repetition isn't the grind, it's the gift. It's the proof that you're building something real. The best habits aren't flashy. They're faithful. They don't shout, they whisper, "I'm still here," over and over again until you become someone who doesn't just start, but finishes. Key takeaway: success doesn't come from intensity, it comes from consistency. The people who win are the ones who do the work, day after day, even when it's inconvenient or unsexy. Favorite quote: missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. How to win when it gets hard. Let's get this straight. You're not tired. You're not burnt out. You're bored. You're stuck in that dangerous middle ground where the challenge has flatlined, the novelty is gone, and the grind feels endless. This is where good intentions die. This is where dreams suffocate. But guess what? That's not a personal failing. It's biology, it's psychology, and it's absolutely hackable. When the work gets hard and you want to quit, the first instinct most people have is to blame themselves. I must not be disciplined enough. Wrong. You're playing the wrong game with the wrong rules. You're using the wrong metrics for success, and then punishing yourself when the system, designed to fail, does exactly that. You don't need more willpower. You need better leverage. So let's talk leverage. Let's talk about the hidden lever behind peak performance that no one on Instagram wants to talk about because it can't be monetized or sold in a 10-step productivity planner. Challenge. See, Clear exposes the truth most of us are terrified to admit. We don't fail because we're incapable. We fail because we get bored. Not because we lack ambition, but because we underestimate the power of boredom as a silent killer of progress. The dopamine that fueled your first 30 days doesn't show up in month 3, and you're left with cold repetition, unsexy routines, and a plate full of do it anyway. But repetition isn't the villain, it's the training ground. The boring stuff, That's the price of mastery. And here's the kicker. Getting good at something isn't about increasing the difficulty. It's about learning how to love the repetition long enough to make the boring look like brilliance. The rule of thumb here is called the Goldilocks rule. No, it's not about porridge temperature or bare beds. It's the principle that we stay most motivated when working on tasks that are right on the edge of our current abilities. Not too easy that it's boring, not too hard that it's frustrating. Just hard enough to make you lean in without burning out. That's the flow zone, the sweet spot where progress becomes addictive and time disappears. You know those people who make excellence look effortless? They live in that space. Every day. That's not luck, it's strategy. But let's confront something uglier. Even the perfect challenge won't save you from yourself when life throws you chaos, stress, or a cracked phone screen at the worst possible time. Life isn't optimized for your habit building. So, what do you do when it gets hard? You show up. Ugly, inconsistent, angry, late, you still show up because consistency isn't doing it perfectly, it's doing it anyway. When you strip away the filters, hashtags, and motivational speeches, discipline is a decision you make in silence. No applause, no audience, just you, your future, and the cold reality that success is reserved for those who do it even when they don't feel like it. Clear lays it out with brutal clarity. Don't chase outcomes, chase systems. Don't obsess over goals, obsess over growth. If your results are lagging, it's not because you suck. It's because your habits are designed for maintenance, not mastery. Change the system and the results change too. You don't need new goals. You need a feedback loop that slaps you in the face when you're drifting and celebrates you when you're leveling up. And here's where it gets deeply personal. You are your own worst accountability partner. That voice in your head, it's lying to you. It will rationalize skipping today. It will glorify comfort. So stack the deck. Get someone to call you out. Get around people who make you feel like a fraud if you're not growing. Peer pressure works, but only if you choose the right peers. Forget motivation. Build a scaffolding of social accountability, personal standards, and real-time feedback. The people around you aren't neutral. They are either pulling you toward excellence or anchoring you in mediocrity. And sometimes excellence requires burning bridges that lead back to average. If this all sounds intense, good. Because mediocrity is comfortable, but greatness is not. Growth requires friction. It demands that you get uncomfortable on purpose, repeatedly, and unapologetically. You want mastery? Then make it hurt a little. Make it count. Make it matter. Key idea. You don't stay consistent because you're superhuman. You stay consistent because you've made the system stronger than your excuses. Progress lives in the discomfort zone. Stay there long enough, and it stops being discomfort. It becomes home. Key takeaway. Mastery isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters over and over, even when it's mind-numbingly boring. Stay in the fight when it's not sexy. The results love repetition. The process builds the person. Favorite quote, professionals stick to the schedule. Amateurs let life get in the way. Habits build the hero. You know what no one tells you about being great? That it's boring, repetitive, unsexy. And that's why most people never get there. Because they're too busy chasing dopamine disguised as progress. Flipping from idea to idea, goal to goal, thinking they're evolving when they're really just spinning in circles with nicer looking distractions. But if you actually want to become great, and I mean real, sustained, can't fake it kind of great, you don't need more ambition. You need a system. And that's the problem. Systems are invisible. They don't get applause. They don't make headlines, but they build empires quietly, brick by brick. James Clear doesn't sell you dreams. He shoves your face into a mirror and asks, what are you repeating every day? Because habits are your real identity, not what you post, not your goal list, your habits. That's what wins. And here's the kicker. If your system is trash, your goals don't matter. If your environment is chaos, your willpower won't save you. If your identity isn't aligned with your actions, your motivation will ghost you the second things get hard. This final stretch of Atomic Habits isn't about hacks. It's about the architecture of greatness. You want to be free? Build the machine. Let's get one thing clear. Talent is overrated. Yeah, I said it. The myth of the gifted genius is just that, a myth. The truth? Most talent is just obsession disguised as personality, repetition mistaken for genius, practice dressed up as potential. Clear calls it the truth about talent, and it's brutal in its simplicity. Natural ability matters, but far less than people think. What matters more? Showing up, repeatedly, on bad days, with no applause. You don't become elite by being born with it. You become elite by falling in love with the boredom of doing the same basic thing for years while everyone else is chasing novelty like a dopamine-deprived toddler. What separates pros from amateurs isn't motivation, it's the system. That's why world-class performers aren't asking, how do I get hyped up to perform? They've built a routine so well grooved into their lives that performing is just what happens. It's who they are. The mistake most people make is chasing peak performance instead of building peak conditions. They want to sprint without learning how to walk, but sustained excellence is a slow burn fire, not a flash of fireworks. You don't need more goals, you need fewer decisions. Clear shows how reducing cognitive load, like Steve Jobs wearing the same outfit every day, isn't laziness, it's brilliance. Why? Because energy is finite, save it for what matters. Then there's the punch to the gut. Success isn't linear. It's lumpy, unpredictable, and deeply unfair. But the system is your insurance policy, your buffer, your parachute. When everything collapses emotionally, financially, spiritually, the person with a system doesn't panic. They fall back on routine. They don't feel like showing up, but they show up anyway. Because they don't rely on willpower, they rely on process. Clear's advanced tactics are about becoming that kind of person, the one who doesn't flinch when it's hard, because their habits are stronger than their feelings. You want to talk about mastery? Mastery is delayed gratification at scale. It's finding joy in the 10,000th repetition. It's asking, what's the next 1% tweak? Instead of, what's the shortcut? Clear emphasizes a brutal but freeing truth. Most people don't need radical transformation. They need relentless refinement. And the only way to refine is to review, reflect, tweak. That's why elite performers track everything. Not because they're obsessive, because they know feedback is leverage. You can't improve what you don't measure. Want to know why you're stuck? You're not paying attention. Want to get unstuck? Audit your system. Here's the final twist. Building better habits isn't about restriction, it's about freedom. When your life runs on well-designed systems, you get to spend your energy doing what you love instead of constantly correcting what you hate. It's not about discipline for the sake of looking disciplined. It's about creating a life that doesn't require you to fight yourself every damn day. The finish line isn't a goal, it's a new identity, executed daily through atomic level actions. And when you stack those actions for long enough, you don't just improve, you transform. So don't wait for perfect. Don't romanticize the grind. Don't worship hustle. Build the system, sharpen it, protect it, and then here's the magic, trust it. Because the person who trusts their system doesn't need motivation. They just need another sunrise. One more rep, one more brick. That's how habits build the hero. Key takeaway, discipline is freedom in disguise. Build systems so strong they make success inevitable, even on your worst day. Favorite quote, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Conclusion, let me be blunt. If you made it this far and still think success is about talent, hustle, or some cute Pinterest quote, then rewind this video and start again, because you missed the entire damn point. Atomic Habits isn't just a book, it's a loaded weapon, and your habits are the trigger. And the harsh truth? Most people are walking around with it pointed at their own damn face, not because they're dumb, because they are asleep. And nobody ever taught them how dangerous unconscious patterns are. You want freedom? You want fulfillment? You want to become the kind of person you say you are in the mirror when nobody's watching? Then stop building goals like castles in the clouds. Start pouring concrete into your daily systems. Show up when it's boring. Track when it's inconvenient. Reboot when you fail, because you will fail. And that's the point. This isn't about perfection. It's about defaulting to the person you want to be. You're not broken, you're patterned, and your job is to engineer better patterns. James Clear didn't write Atomic Habits to impress you. He wrote it to punch you in the face and hand you a blueprint while you're still dizzy. And if you're smart, you'll use it. Because this is the cheat code for people who are sick of waiting, sick of half-finished dreams, sick of wondering why their life looks nothing like their potential. So here's the deal. Buy the damn book. Don't rent this knowledge with a video. Own it, highlight it, bleed on the pages, let it break you open and put you back together with intention. And if you're waiting for a sign to start, this is it. Start small, start ugly, start now. Because your future self is watching and it's tired of your excuses. If this video shook you, lit a fire under you, or called you out in a way that made your ego squirm, good. Hit that like button like it owes you money. Subscribe if you're done being average. Share this with someone who's stuck in their loop and needs to wake up. And drop a comment below with one atomic habit you're building starting today. And if you're still here thinking, yeah, but my life is too messy right now, let me stop you there. We don't connect through perfection, we connect through scars. So show yours. Build anyway, because habits don't just change your life. They reveal who you were meant to be. Now go make that person proud.